have to say, as far as industries are concerned, the real estate market is the most consistently changing industry that I dive into. Um, Over this last year, I have seen things cool down a little bit. And with that, I've got to be controversial in that home values still continue to go up. They rose by an average of 3.7%. Existing home sales and sales prices were up by 0.8 and 0.2% year over year. Add that to mortgage rates that have remained higher than in the pandemic timeframe, makes it even more difficult for people to buy homes. So, how does all of this affect you as a real estate agent? How does this all affect you as a client in the real estate industry? For you to understand these markets and understand how these things shift, it gives you the ability to educate, inform, and guide your buyers and sellers through all of these challenges. And as a buyer and seller, understanding where this information is coming from and why it's so important for you to be able to make educated decisions. You're going to be able to set the right expectations up front no matter what the circumstances are, quite honestly. And at the end of the day, this is going to help position your agent as the go to expert for a client. Here at Keystone, again, we primarily focus as a consulting firm with a specialization in real estate and being able to help our clients understand that every single purchase that they're making in the real estate market is an investment first, and it's something they can live in or invest with for other people to live in the housing market second. Some key takeaways today. I need you to understand that regardless of what you're hearing on the media, market conditions are stable. Home sales and listing prices are normalized. We're creating a more balanced market where the power dynamics between the buyers and the sellers are equalized. Next, challenges are present, but so are the opportunities. Affordability issues still remain for quite a few buyers, especially those in the starter home pricing, because those are continuing to rise. However, historically, equity gains are still a signal that real estate is a very strong long term investment. What's that mean for the outlook? The outlook is incredibly positive. Continued growth, nationwide housing markets show, and falling mortgage rates, even though it's trickle, it still falls. This suggests more opportunities for buyers and sellers in the coming years. We have a lot to cover today. Feel free to hit pause. Feel free to go back and forth. You might have to listen to this a few times, but this one's going to be four separate parts. So hold on, kids. This one's going to be the ride. I talked about home sales are normalizing. Again, everything that I can talk to you about can be fact checked. A general portion of the data that I'm going to go through today is from the National Association of Realtors. Home sales have stabilized over the past year, a small uptick even in sales. However, inventory is starting to grow slightly. That's some signs that we're going to have more of a seller's market again, although somewhat less than we had in the last year. I need you to keep in mind that balance is the difference between the buyer and the seller for the supply and the demand of inventory. Balanced housing supply is generally seen at 6 months worth of inventory. Lower inventory will suggest that it is more of a seller's market. Higher inventory would point towards the buyer's market. Overall, homes are sitting on the market a little bit longer than we saw in that whirlwind of 2020, which is a horrible bar for you to compare things to because that was an anomaly. Again, just like when we're doing comps, you need to take the highest out. You need to take the lowest out of your factoring decisions. Those aren't the reality. Those are anomalous in how you're utilizing your numbers. But it's not a sign that the housing market is collapsing by any measure. Proven facts that demand is still strong, even with home prices ticking upwards ever so slightly, even with the interest rates continuing to be high and stabilized. If I look at pending home sales slowing down, pending home sales in June of 2025 We're at an index of 72. Um, an index above 100 would coincide with a higher level of activity related to all the way back to 2001, which is our standard for 100. Midwest was down only by 0.8%. Northeast down month over month, 2.1%. The West down, and this is again pending home sales, 3.9%. And the South, we only took a 0.07. And when I say the South, it's everything from Texas all the way to the East Coast and as far up as West Virginia. We saw housing market inventory still show us that it is a seller's market, meaning that we don't have a huge surplus of housing, and the quality of that surplus is equally as important. Florida is a perfect example. We have housing available to purchase. A very large percentage of the homes that are available are considered fix and flip. So these are homes that have not been cared for or are not in the best of condition that need to be revamped, some even torn down. Just because that home is for sale, those numbers shouldn't skew whether or not it's a buyer's or seller's market. Based on the most recent data from the NAR, at the time of this discussion today, I can tell you pending home sales were slightly lower than last year. Each region has corresponding low levels, which we discussed, but some buyers see this as a bad thing. You can actually frame it in a manner that benefits your clients if you're having an accurate discussion. Instance, slower sales activity allows buyers more time to weigh their options before commitments. The competition for a single home is not at 90 miles an hour like it was before. For something as large as a home purchase, it could potentially save your clients from making costly mistakes by speeding through the transaction, overlooking critical details that might typically be missed because they feel like they're rushed for time. Buyers can actually use to their advantage to take more time in comparing properties and strategies. Home prices continue to go up. Forecasts for 25 and 26 also support what everybody suspects is going to continue. There is an actual number of all forecasts showing an expectation of 1.7 to 1.8%. Fannie Mae feels like the market might go prices might go down in 2026, but the NAR, who is the primary example and holder of most real estate data, says it's going to go up as much as 4%, and that's at a national average. Buyers that are waiting to buy a home, hoping the prices are still going to fall because they're listening to the wrong YouTube channel or the wrong TikTok influencer, are going to be waiting a long time. Forecasts from multiple reputable sources are telling you that you got to be able to expect homes to continue to go up in value. They are an investment strategy, and people that own homes are willing to wait for home evaluations to continue to climb before they sell. And it is the point of sale that dictates whether or not a home's price is going to continue to go up as a market strategy. It is the strongest indicator that homes are not likely to get any cheaper anytime soon. So if you're waiting for that, you're fooling yourself. As a real estate agent, I have to tell you, the information that I use to try to encourage my clients to act now is whether or not they can afford it. I'd rather you do this rather than go down the road and gamble and continue to stay on the sidelines. Depending on your buyer's circumstances, of course, you've got to be able to wait things out based on them paying more in the long run in the form of additional rent out of pocket, higher purchase prices on future homes, and it can also lead them to be on the hook for a larger down payment requirement, higher property taxes, other housing expenses. If you're concerned that things aren't getting cheaper in this country, then why would the cost of owning a home be any different? Buyers are also more easily able to find sellers' listings than they were before. Realtor.com data. shows that it is absolutely still a seller's market. It is relaxing, and that's a good thing for buyers. But more homes listed for sale means buyers have a greater chance of finding their dream home. Not to mention more flexibility in their decision making and the strategy that they're using so that they can leverage it when putting in an offer on a property. Again, as a real estate agent, more listings might lead you to think there's less competition. Secure the seller, homes being on the market longer. I hear real estate agents that have platforms that are telling clients that it is a buyer's market. They don't know what they're talking about. They obviously never went to an economics class. Supply versus demand is the name of the game. It is important for your clients not to get complacent. And agents need to continue to build relationships. It isn't something that's going to happen overnight. And if buyers are going to take longer to finalize and purchase a home, it's going to help you understand more and more why those relationships are going to be important. This is the best time to refine your marketing, to build your strategies, to work on listing presentations.